So I'm recording now. Mark has been working on the primer for our campaign, and
Right.
I forgot to record, and now we're gonna repeat a little bit of that, and then we continue. So there you go.
That's okay. We've basically just started.
Mhm.
So yeah, basically the primer is talking about the setting, setting everyone up for the world that they're going to play in, um, without revealing too much about what the campaign is going to be about.
Okay.
So first of all, the world overall. The world is very homebrew, I'd say, which basically means I completely made it myself, came up with it myself. It's based on a lot of things that actually existed throughout history, especially during the Victorian era, which was the 1800s, roughly. And yeah, so first, most important thing is that dotted all over the world are these ruins that belonged to an ancient civilization that has vanished for an unknown reason. And all that remains are these ruins that people can only guess as to how old they are. But what people do know about these ruins, and pretty much the only thing they know, is that it belonged to an ancient society that they just refer to as the ancients. And these ancients have been technologically extremely advanced, to the point where they used to have these sources of energy that people call power cores. They range from different sizes. They are pretty much normed, so they in each size power core will have the same output of power, and they create perpetual energy, so unlimited amounts. And nobody knows how they work, so they cannot be recreated. They can only be found within these ruins.
Okay, so they weren't able to like deconstruct these perpetual energy suppliers.
Not at least not to a point where they could understand them.
Okay.
They are extremely arcane and like way beyond anything that people can understand.
Yeah, it's like equivalent of giving a monkey a calculator. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. And
yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the idea here. And these power cores are a kind of very important feature of the game itself, because you can use them instead of like steam engines and stuff to power devices.
Okay. But there are only a few of them, right? That
there are lots of them.
Oh, okay.
And they can be found in these ancient ruins. As I said, they're not really rare or anything. Except that
how big are they? Bit of a weird question.
They range anywhere from like small, like marble-sized, to like the size of a person.
I sense a little bit of Iron Man arc reactor energy there.
Is something you could do with that, sure. Or you could use them to power airships, or
maybe robotic arms. Who knows?
Or that.
Yes. Who knows?
Autolimbs are a thing.
Yes. Okay, I like it. I like it, Picasso. Very cool. Very cool. And like geopolitically, what is happening in the world in Terra?
Right. So yeah, as you said, the world is called Terra, and there are a couple continents. The most important ones are Meryl, Poetina, and Toyo.
Okay.
So Meryl is basically a very rather small, temperate continent with like a little desert in the southeast. And it's home of two big nations, mainly the Calvian Empire, which is like the equivalent of a British Empire. and it works in many ways very similarly to the British Empire. And the Sharpik Kingdom, which resides in the deserts. The
So
Sharpik
it's a
Kingdom
it's a British empire in the desert.
No, the British Empire is not in the desert. The British Empire resides in the temperate part of the continent.
Okay, and then in the desert there is this pharaoh nation, right?
Exactly, the Sharpik Kingdom.
Sharpik? Okay.
Sharbik,
Sharbik.
with a B.
Okay.
Soft B.
Okay.
Anyways. Right. The Kevin Empire is a big colonial empire, and they're kind of reaching out to to new lands to colonize, basically. And they have probably the world's largest airship fleet by far.
Okay.
Which makes them a force to be reckoned with. On the other hand, the Sharpik Kingdom is quite small. It's only situated around like one big river, kind of like the Nile in our world, and with only a couple larger settlements. But they are rather, they can hold their own against the Kevin Empire because of their technological advancements. Because the Sharpik Kingdom, unlike the Kelvin Empire, they are embracing the ancients. While the Kelvin Empire is more like, yeah, we are very religious, and for us, the ancients are kind of blasphemers because they played with the power of God. So we kind of outlawed research into the ancients or their technologies.
Okay, wait a second. So the British Empire is the religious one?
Yes.
Okay. Like more conservative, right? This is how you could like put it, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Very, very conservative.
And funnily enough, the pharaoh is like, embrace the tech, bro.
Basically, and that also comes from a religious perspective, because the Sharpik, they believe that the ancients were basically, they lived in a time, or that all of these ruins that they find are remnants of a time when the gods used to rule the earth.
Okay. I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is why the pharaohs of today are trying to go back to that. They're trying to harness this technology that the ancients left behind to rule Terra again. Basically, which is why what makes them extremely powerful now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's a bit okay. And how can then the no, I don't want to say English. Sorry. Like what do you call them?
Calvian Empire or just
Calvian. Yeah, Calvian. How can they then compare to this extremely advanced technology? Just because of their size, basically?
Either numbers.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And also, the Calvian Empire has something else going for them. They do have a strong religious base, and with that religious base comes a kind of magical superiority as well. Because there are mainly 3 kinds of magic in this world, 2 of which are very close to one another. You have alchemy, prayer, and witchcraft. And while alchemy and witchcraft kind of go hand in hand, both of which work with the with essence of the 4 elements to create magic and potions and stuff. Prayer, on the other hand, pretty much solely works on faith. And with the church being a very powerful and united institution, they have immensely powerful, basically priests who channel prayers to bestow powerful blessings.
Priests or monks or whoever uses these prayers, I presume, right?
Yeah, mostly they're spiritual executive force would be the Inquisition, which
Oh Jesus.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
basically,
yeah, they do
yeah, they
have,
have that.
they have power. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Nobody expects the Inquisition.
yeah. Jesus. Okay. I forgot
Yeah,
about that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and so and basically the pharaoh and so on, are they non-believers, or do they believe just in the power of the ancients, sort of like?
they think so. Basically, the pharaoh and people of the Shabi kingdom, they think that the ancients are a whole, basically a holy
Entity.
entity,
Mm-hmm.
or a bunch of holy entities, like as in they have these
Yeah,
gods.
yeah. So in a sense, like the pharaoh thinks that once he gets, okay, I understand, because the pharaoh is like above all, right? And he thinks if he understands the ancients, then he'll become also God. So theoretically, they're not.
He'll become a god. He thinks himself to be as powerful as them.
Exactly. So therefore, this is his religion. His religion is sort of the power of the gods. So he is the god, sort of. So
Exactly.
so he doesn't believe in a god above himself, or like in a god that is not reachable by him.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, that makes
He
sense.
sees himself just as powerful as the other gods that used to be.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean, one thing that he has going for himself is he's here and they are not, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, yes, yeah.
he's in charge now. They maybe used to be.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are two of the largest nations.
Okay.
Then the next continent would be Tautina, which is a kind of like the Europe equivalent.
Okay. It's like a mix of different smaller nations, or
I wouldn't call them smaller necessarily, but you have four big nations on that,
okay.
which is the Archduchy Sutherland, or in German Erzherzogtum Süderland,
Okay.
which is basically the Archduchy of Austria
Okay.
at its prime.
Okay.
And you also have the Kingdom Bayern, which is in German Königreich Breuern.
All right.
You can, which is basically Bavaria, but at its prime, which also used to be a kingdom, a very large one. And then you have two more big nations. The biggest of which would be the Western Empire, or the Empire Occidental, which is the basically French Empire.
Okay.
Back in the day when the French king decided to call himself an emperor. Meaning, I think that was Napoleon
Okay.
in our time. And they are kind of like based upon the Napoleonic French Empire. Very militaristic, but also very progressive in certain ways. And the last one would be the Kingdom Platen, which is Königreich Platten in German.
All right.
Which is basically the Prussian Empire, but
Okay. What about America?
so the thing here is America in the 1800s was very new
Yeah. Right.
and had a lot of issues,
Oh yeah.
especially also. I have not yet allocated a continent for where I want to put the new world on,
Okay.
or rather, I haven't put that into the primary yet.
Okay.
Because I want to make that maybe a big part of the campaign.
Okay.
Right.
It sounds good.
Right. There's one more continent that may be of interest, which is the continent Toyo. And it has three big nations on it. Used to be only two, but now it's three. The bigger one is the Eastern Empire, which is basically think Chinese Empire
Okay.
in the 1800s, which used to be like a bully victim back in the day, politically speaking.
It used to be what?
Kind of a bully victim in the 1800s, politically speaking.
What was then? I'm not like I don't know about.
Do you remember the Opium Wars?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing that happened to them, for example.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, they were the butt of the joke.
Didn't it also the
in-
Mongolians at some point completely take over? But that was earlier, right?
That was a bit earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing that happened to them, and especially in the 1800s, the Chinese just had big issues. They were being taken advantage of by everyone. I'm probably going
How
to
the tables
change
have
it.
turned. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, their biggest issue is that they tried to kind of like have a bit of a trade war with the British Empire, but that really did just backfired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm gonna change it up probably a bit.
But do you already know how the campaign will start, or like what the
Yes.
set?
I have a couple of ideas where the campaign can start. I will make the specifics depend on what your characters are going to look like in the end.
Okay.
Also, right, and the other two nations that may be interesting are Reikoku and Kaikoku, which are my reimagined idea of the Japanese empire of the 1800s,
Okay.
which used to be kind of like a shogunate.
Right. Yeah.
Until the Americans came along and forced them into going public.
Public in sense of like democracy or what?
What? In sense of actually allowing people to visit. Like, I don't know if you know that, but the Japanese used to have like a little island where they. That was the first thing. Is they established a little island where they allowed people from the outside to.
I didn't know
go
that.
on, and nowhere else were they allowed. They would just be basically.
Because basically it was all property of the king, right? Of the shogun.
It's not that. It's more like they were very traditional and conservative, like extremely, to the point where they wouldn't allow any outside influence.
Interesting.
Yes.
Damn.
Very protective of their own values and everything. So yeah, I kind of reimagined that a bit. Basically, there was a big event that happened in my world to the Empire of Reikoku, which is the traditional kind of shogunates. So kind of like a couple decades back, there was an engineer and businessman who went to explore the world a bit. And he eventually came upon Reikoku,
By accident?
the shogunate. Not by accident. He was exploring the world, but nobody has explored that part yet until then. And he came upon them, and he kind of studied them for a bit, and found out that these people are like very disciplined and very. Just very untapped, I guess. As in, like, they had so much potential that he thought he could use for his business endeavors.
Okay.
So and they also had a lot of untapped natural resources there because they were so behind technologically.
Okay. They didn't abuse the terrain yet. Yeah.
Well, let's just say he came in on an airship and nobody there would have ever imagined that yet.
Oh, yeah, right. But like, wait a second. Did he get like into problems because they like were like so restrictive of outside influence, or he landed on that island?
that's kind of a bit of an issue that happened. So basically, he was kind of like the first outsider who came there. So they hadn't really, they didn't really have outsider.
They didn't have the restrictions yet, sort of.
They didn't have any foreign politics yet.
Yeah, right.
So he kind of started a process of them thinking about that issue now. Because he was really, really messing with their traditional values.
Yeah.
Coming in with his like airship and his like idea of foreign culture and stuff. So the shogun of Reikoku, he kind of had an issue with all that, and he kind of cast him out, like immediately exiled him.
Okay.
Because he saw that he was trying to convince the locals to let him set foot here and basically set up shop for factories and stuff and whatnot.
So exile. Bam.
Bam. Right. And the engineer then said, okay, but what if I just don't go home? So he did that because he had his airship. He could just, fly.
All right.
The fuck are they gonna do? Shoot their arrows at him?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So and that and the fact that they haven't even discovered gunpowder yet.
Oh, okay.
Or any kind of aviation basically gave him a complete technological advantage here.
Okay.
And he started kind of bombarding different areas of the land with propaganda.
Ah, okay. Bombarding with propaganda. Okay.
Mostly just things like newspaper articles and fashion magazines and stuff like that.
But did he had so many on stock? Like
he had this guy was a big businessman, and he didn't just have one airship. He went there with like a small fleet,
okay,
basically.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right. So he spread word of the Western world, basically, and then eventually the people there, and the biggest information that he gave to them was information about the ancients, because he doesn't come from the Calvian Empire. He was from the Western Empire, from the French, right? Where there are archaeologists and stuff.
I mean, the Western Empire is like more of a healthy mixture of all of these things, right? There are no extremes in any direction.
Exactly. Right, and he then gave them the information that, hey, we found these ancient ruins and stuff, and as I said, the ancient ruins are everywhere, and that includes Reikoku. But the way they have approached it so far is in a very traditional way, saying that these are kind of like very holy sites that you are not allowed to enter, because holy spirits and gods reside there, and you are not supposed to disturb them.
Okay, this is how they did the propaganda.
Right, so they showed them, hey, there's you're absolutely you should go into there and research that shit.
Sort of negative, like
he was kind of like showing them new values and stuff, and encouraging them to think for themselves, basically, think individually. And eventually some people started doing that, and that it came as it must, as it had to, and people started uprisings against the shogunates, and they were obviously the powerful shogun would just shut them down, but luckily they had the rebels kind of had like a little aid from the engineer slash businessman who came over with his like airships and Western technology, and he gave them to that. He gave that to them, to the rebels specifically.
Some technology and some
Exactly. Technology like gunpowder
Mm-hmm.
and like guns,
And they
as well
revolted.
as,
Okay.
and they did. And the revolution ended up succeeding.
I mean, yeah, with gunpowder against bows, it makes sense.
Exactly. Like they had samurais, but they were going against fucking
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah.
You know, the fuck are you gonna do?
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Yeah.
Yeah. Like guns, just to put this into perspective, guns pretty much were one of my biggest problems that I had when starting thinking about how this combat system
Oh yeah, right.
works
What the fuck? I didn't even think
because
about
of
that.
because of armor. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do with armor when guns just made armor obsolete?
I mean, not really obsolete, but
You can shoot through plate mail without a problem.
I mean, depending on the gun, yeah.
You can shoot with any gun
No, I
through
saw.
plate mail
No, I
without
mean
problem.
like Kevlar or stuff like that, right?
Right, but that's advanced stuff. Like, I was thinking about armor that was popular back in the day.
Ah, yeah. I mean, the
Was made
gunpowder
completely
was also
obsolete by
not
guns.
that efficient, right?
Right, until they made it more efficient during the Industrial Revolution when they started thinking about automatic cannons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when the first AKs came up, that's when armor was completely outdated.
Yeah. But okay, but then how did you fix that? Like, how come weapons are not completely broken?
Well, couple of things. First of all, armor value just reduces damage; it doesn't negate it.
Okay.
So that's one difference. And second of all, there's different kinds of armor. You can also use what they did what they did in the 1800s was develop personal ceramic armor, which actually does kind of stop bullets to a certain degree.
Okay. Plus, like, we still have the factor of the prayer in there, right?
Exactly,
Maybe
prayer,
there's like
magic,
some.
and stuff that
Yeah.
also works. And you have ancient technology. Who knows what they have?
Exactly.
You
And
know?
like, I don't know, projectile deflection and whatnot. So yeah, there's like plenty of workarounds that were not present in real life, like in
Exactly.
Victorian area. So yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, back to Reikoku. So when the revolution succeeded, eventually the people who were part of the revolution, they then said, okay, we want to be independent now, and we want to form a republic. We want to embrace the Western world and open our lands up to them. And the people of Reikoku, the shogun, he was basically forced to concede large parts of his lands to them. And he said, okay, but the rest of the lands you leave alone, and that is just for us, and we keep that going as we see fit.
Okay.
And that's how Kaikuku, the other nation, was born.
Ah, okay. But then,
Which
like, what stopped them from completely just overrunning the shogunate?
Basically, the traditional values of people.
Okay.
You cannot stop people. You cannot stop everyone from believing into traditional values.
Yeah, right. You're right. It makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so it was more like a thing of, all right, we got people that still want the shogunate, and then we have people that don't want it, and the people who don't want it have become a little too powerful, and so, well, I guess we gotta give in to them and give them like a big part, so they're happy, and then, okay, I got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, so you have basically the and this is kind of like then an oligarchical republic with like a president and everything. Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, those are the biggest nations. There are two more nations that don't reside on continents, and they're a bit special. So one of them is the Veltrian Kingdom, which is a kingdom that is more of an ocean kingdom. It has both mostly like island settlements, floating towns, and their capital, an underwater city.
Okay.
It's basically built in and around ruins of a city of the ancients that was built to last underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning they can just live there without a problem. Thanks to
Okay.
ancient technology.
Yeah. That's cool. So it's basically
Yeah.
Atlantis. What's the name?
Basically, Veltria, or the
Beltria.
Veltrian Kingdom.
Okay. And do they look different or just humans?
The people are normal humans.
Okay,
They just live there.
everywhere in every nation. So the ancient technology didn't really affect them, like physically.
No.
Okay.
And the last nation that is also very kind of independent is the city of Kyberis. Kyberis is basically at some point people built large enough airships that someone had the idea to put to kind of like fashion a couple of them together and start building a city in the skies.
Oh shit. Okay.
And this is what Kyberis is. It's independent politically, and everyone who can afford a flight there is welcome.
Okay. This is cool.
And kind of moves around and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. So this is the primer. This is the info you have in the primer.
Pretty much. Let me see if there's anything I missed. I mean, there's also a section about the creatures that exist in this world, because as I said, it's like a fantasy setting. So you have your werewolves, vampires, magical creatures, and I also have a little section about holy and unholy creatures, because that's also a thing.
Okay.
Um,
What would unholy creatures be?
So like demons or creatures created by curses, like for example vampires or werewolves.
Okay, so they're also unholy. Okay.
They are labeled unholy.
They're labeled unholy. Okay.
Yeah, this does have mechanical properties in the system as well.
Okay. Combat related stuff, maybe buffs or debuffs or stuff. Okay, got it. Or effectiveness or stuff like that. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And holy?
Angels, for example.
Okay.
There aren't many holy creatures. There can be. You can become a holy creature by becoming a saint, basically.
Can you become a holy creature from being an unholy creature?
I mean, you can probably redeem yourself.
All right, that sounds interesting.
Most people are neither.
Okay.
And most creatures, like by far. Most undead are also unholy, if not all of them.
I mean that makes sense, kind of.
Yeah. Like skeletons, zombies, and stuff.
It kind of makes sense. Okay. No, this is cool. This sounds really cool. Now, would you be up to? Do you have already like for the character creation, or do you have like? Do you need to get somewhere?
Character creation is done.
Huh?
I have nowhere to be.
All right. Okay. Good. Then let's close this section for the primer,
Right.
and we'll move on.